I'm David Lombardo, and this is WCNY's The Capitol Press Room. This spring, the Hochul administration announced a new program providing small businesses with free consultations from state environmental officials on ways they can reduce waste and increase energy efficiency, as well as other steps to reduce their environmental impact, while also hopefully saving some money. For more on the state's Sustainable Business Navigator initiative, we're joined remotely by Brendan Woodruff, Director of Sustainability at the State Department of Environmental Conservation. Thanks for making the time, Brendan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we're also going to hear from Rebecca Miller, Director of the Environmental Services Unit at Empire State Development. Welcome to the show, Rebecca.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, I guess for starters, if I'm a business in New York with 100 or fewer employees and I sign up for an hour consultation under this program, which you can do virtually or potentially in person, what sort of experience should I expect in that hour visit?
Yeah, so we've tried to make this as simple as possible for small businesses. And a big part of that is we know that small businesses are incredibly busy. So if you're running, say, a pizza shop and you're behind the oven for 10, 12 hours a day making pizza, you don't have time to think about a lot of this stuff. And so if I'm Dave's Pizza Shop, here's what you can expect. The first thing is if a business wants to green their operations, they go on our website. We have a quick little registration form there. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes to fill out. And in that, you're going to tell us about your business. And you're also going to tell us what you're interested in talking to us about specifically in terms of becoming more sustainable. This could include things like reducing waste, becoming more energy efficient. It could be reducing the use of toxic chemicals, marketing your sustainability achievements to customers. It's a very holistic program. And that's one of the things that we're proud about is that we tailor our conversations to what the business itself is looking for. Then we would schedule a 1 hour meeting with you. It would be either virtual or in person. We would then hold that meeting, talk to Dave's Pizza Shop about using recycled content in the pizza boxes or things like that. And then afterwards, you would get a summary form of actions you can take that we discussed and referrals to other resources. And that's it. We tried to make it as simple as possible and frictionless as possible for these positive conversations to take place.
Well, because small businesses can take a lot of different forms, like my burgeoning pizza empire, how will the DEC prepare to take on all of these different requests that they might get? Because how you go green in one small business might be completely different from another.
Yeah, so this program is run out of our Office of Sustainability. And our mantra in this office is not just us. And that's because we've spent years working on greening DEC's operations. And what we've learned is, in a lot of ways, a building is a building, right? Electricity is electricity. The products you're using have to be disposed of certain ways. And so we're able to take all of this knowledge that we've found and then share that with the business community. So for example, both, let's say, a DEC office building and a pizza shop, switching your lighting out to LEDs is pretty similar, right? You're using lighting, you have HVAC systems, you're disposing of waste in certain ways. So we're able to take a lot of the things that we've learned from our own operations and share that with small businesses. The other thing we're doing is when we get those intake forms, we're doing our research and our homework. And so let's say we get a lot of, we'll keep on the pizza track here, we get a lot of pizza shops, you start to learn about them, right? And so we start to learn just as much from them as they're learning from us. And we're able to share that with other similar businesses. And so the nuts and bolts of how you go green is pretty similar. If you're trying to reduce your emissions, we can switch our fleet vehicles to electric, and a pizza shop could look into an electric delivery vehicle. And so there's a lot of overlap there. And that gives us that knowledge base to be able to assist them as best as possible.
Well, you've already sort of teased this out with some of the ideas that you are thinking about, like lighting, like electric vehicles. But are there other low-hanging fruit that you think is widely applicable for a variety of businesses?
Yeah, I think the biggest things that we've talked to people about are the big ones that you just mentioned there. So it is energy efficiency, reducing waste, and looking for ways that they can find those cost-cutting things. So I'll give you an example here. We were talking to a business recently. They run a coffee cart, right? So they're out at fairs, they're out at events, and at some of those, there's electricity where you can plug in the cart and you can go. Others, there's not. And so they have a small gasoline generator, which they have to pay. You have to pay for fuel. You have to maintain it. It's noisy. Your customers, might not want to breathe the fumes from it. And we had recently internally at DEC purchased a number of these solar generators. So it's a big battery pack with solar panels on it. And we have been using those for our drone pilots. So they go out in the field, they have this big battery, they can plug the drone batteries into it, they can put a solar panel out, and they don't have to use a generator. It's pretty simple. They can just plug it in, they're flying on sunshine. So we were able to share our experiences with that coffee cart and say, hey, this technology exists. Here's how it works now, and here's how it could potentially help you with replacing that generator so your customers are a little bit more happy. It gives you a marketing edge if people see the cool solar panel. And that's kind of an example of the type of things we can bring to the table for businesses.
Sometimes, though, green initiatives have significant upfront costs, and some of those, I imagine, though, could be covered by existing state or federal programs. So are you also making small businesses aware of different initiatives that are out there as part of these consultations?
That's a big part of what we do. And that's what a lot with that follow-up summary that we provide them with is so if they ask us about specific things, we can give them contacts at, say, NYSERDA. If it's things about electric vehicle rebates, if it's energy efficiency rebates, we can point them to the utilities and things like that. And so we kind of act as, think of it as a concierge, right? You've got a small business. They don't have time to go through all the acronyms of different programs that are out there and figuring out the different funding sources. And so we're able to kind of speak the language and translate it for them and say, here's who you need to talk to about X, Y, and Z.
While Brendan's really focused on sustainability, our New York State Small Business Environmental Support Office that was created about a year and a half ago as a result of the governor's vision to pair environmental protection and business support really helps businesses to achieve compliance with environmental regulations. We have the office housed at Empire State Development, and it provides free and confidential assistance to small and micro businesses navigating environmental regulations. So we do this in a couple different ways. We can help them via phone, email, and through site visits. And we help all small businesses that need to comply with any environmental regulations. This could range from auto body shops to greenhouses to farms and manufacturers. We help them understand their compliance requirements with state and federal regulations, including air, hazardous waste, water, and bulk storage.
And so one of the things that's fantastic is it's kind of a 1-2 punch of help for small businesses here. So if they have questions about compliance assistance, they can work with Rebecca's team at ESD. They can get that confidential assistance. When they want to go what we in the business call beyond compliance, so doing more than the minimum that's required and become more sustainable in a whole plethora of ways, we can assist them through that as well.
Yeah, I was curious what the next steps might be for someone who has regulatory questions that can't be answered as part of these consultations, because I saw in an overview webinar that staff will not be discussing regulatory matters, but that there is that role of the Empire State Development Small Business Environmental Ombudsman program. So is that just a smooth handoff from one consultation to the Ombudsman program?
Yeah, and it goes both ways too. And so our partners at ESD, if they have somebody who they assist with compliance issues and they say, hey, we want to do more, they refer them to us. If we're talking to somebody and they raise some compliance issues, we can then send them over to ESD as well.
And what about the county landscape? Because I have to imagine there are different opportunities or expectations depending on the county that a small business is operating. So are you guys at the state level aware of all of those and able to pass on opportunities as well as expectations to them?
We really focus on the state and federal level. We are aware of some counties that have specific regulations, specifically more downstate-based counties. So we're able to provide some direction in a couple instances, but our primary focus is at the state and federal level.
And it's my understanding that this program was announced in May. So what sort of uptake has there been in the ensuing months?
Yeah. And so far, one of the things when working with small businesses is its time, right? So even if we're talking about a 1 hour meeting, a lot of times it's hard to schedule that because we've got to fit it into their time schedule and make sure that it's as easy as possible. And it doesn't disrupt their business as well. So far, we've met with 4 different businesses. We've got 7 that we're working in the pipeline with now, and we're always doing outreach for more. So if you have small businesses that are listening, they can go to their favorite search engine, and they are able to search for Sustainable Business Navigator, add DEC in there, and it'll pop right up. And if you have listeners who have a favorite small business, they can let them know as well. That's one of the ways that we've had some of the businesses come to us actually is they had customers, say, hey, I saw this thing and it'd be really cool if you did it. So, if there's a lot of fans of Dave's Pizza out there, they can let Dave's Pizza know to join the program.
You talked about how lessons that you learn from serving one small business could be applied to another. And I wonder, though, about those small businesses that have proprietary information or are looking for an edge over their competition. Are you hearing from some who don't want their trade secrets to be passed on? And how are you dealing with any sort of confidentiality issues that might arise from the way that businesses might practice uniquely?
So far, the businesses we've talked to, most of it goes around their operations, right? And so, a lot of times, if we're talking about the secret sauce or how many herbs and spices they're using in their blend of things, we're not getting that deep into the weeds with them on their specific products. A lot of it is, their building, it's their fleet, it's the waste they're generating. And so a lot of it doesn't get into that proprietary information. But if businesses do talk to us about things like that, we treat that as confidential business information, and we follow all of our applicable rules for that.
And this is designed to be 1-hour consultations with individual businesses. But if you're trying to maximize the footprint, is there a case to be made that maybe you try to loop in some businesses with shared interest, because they might also ask questions that somebody else might not have even thought of? So is that something that you're thinking about in the future, or are you really committed to the 1-hour individual experience?
But right now, we're working with the 1-hour individualized experience. I think it depends on where the program goes in the future and what folks ask for. The genesis of this program really was small businesses reaching out to our office and saying, hey, how do we do this? Or can you tell us more about that? And so we thought about it and we're like, we should create a formal program for this if we have folks already coming to us. In this way, we can offer it to everybody instead of having folks call us on a one-off. And so if we start to hear feedback on things like doing sector-specific targeting, I know other states have done that for their similar programs, we would be open to doing that in the future.
On the compliance side, I'd like to also offer that this Small Business Environmental Support Office, we not only provide assistance directly to small businesses, but we also prepare outreach, including compliance advisories, where we highlight regulatory changes and compliance deadlines. And we often utilize associations to be able to get the word out and spread the word about changing regulations to all impacted businesses.
Well, finally, thinking about the flow of information, are state officials planning for the possibility that in talking with small businesses, they might identify issues in rules and regulations that need to be addressed, or maybe the need for additional statutes because of the way things flow, or new opportunities? I mean, are you guys going into these meetings with open ears as well?
Well, one of the charges of this Small Business Environmental Support Office is really looking at proposed regulations, changing regulations, and really being able to provide feedback to the regulator on behalf of businesses and really taking into consideration the business's best interest in New York State. So we provide feedback where possible and really engage the regulators in these discussions.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this conversation. We've been speaking with Rebecca Miller. She's the director of the Environmental Services Unit at Empire State Development. Thanks for making the time, Rebecca.
Thank you.
And we've also been hearing from Brendan Woodruff, Director of Sustainability at the State Department of Environmental Conservation. Thank you, Brendan.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks for listening to today's edition of the Capitol Press Room. For an insider take on what's happening in state government, check out our Dispatches from Planet Albany show, available wherever you get podcasts or at capitolpressroom.org.
Join us again for Capitol Press Room, a production of WCNY Connected, Syracuse.